A very good evening and thank you for joining us for this week's last edition of Primetime News. It's always a pleasure to be in your company. I'm Salima Shimwefeleni Masipa. Leading our newscast, President Nangolo on Wednesday sent a message to Nicolas Maduro congratulating him on his re-election as president of Venezuela. More on this story.
Soy Nicolás Maduro Moro, presidente reelecto de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela.
Maduro was declared the winner after obtaining 51% of the vote against opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez's 44% in the last Sunday's election. The Venezuelan presidential election were held on 28 July 2024 to choose a president for a 6-year term beginning on the 10th of January 2025. In a congratulatory letter issued on Wednesday to the embassy of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, President Nangolo stated that the will of the Venezuelan people to extend Maduro's mandate for a third term in office is a clear demonstration of their trust and confidence in his leadership. The president added that he looks forward to continue working with President Maduro in order to strengthen and widen the scope of their bilateral cooperation for the benefit of their people. As Maduro assumes a new term in office, Mbumba stated that he wishes him good health and strength in leading the Venezuelan people to greater levels of prosperity. Konjeni Ambinga reporting for Primetime News.
On to health matters. Minister of Health and Social Services, Dr. Kalumbi Shangula, officially opened the Garua Clinic in the Kavango West region on Wednesday. The new clinic is expected to provide essential healthcare services to Garua village and the surrounding areas, reducing the need for residents to travel long distances to access medical care. Here's an insert from the event.
Today we gather not only to cut a ribbon, but to celebrate a vital addition to our public health care infrastructure. This facility is paramount because it will serve communities that for a long time had to walk long distances, confronting the elements of nature in order to access healthcare services. From today, those struggles have become something of the past. Healthcare services for this community and the surrounding areas have been brought closer to you.
Nigerian security forces on Thursday fired shots in the air and tear gas to break up protests, and local states imposed curfews as thousands joined rallies across the country against the cost of living. AFP has more on this story.
Africa's most populous country is struggling with soaring inflation and a sharply devalued naira after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu ended a costly fuel subsidy and liberalized the currency more than a year ago to improve the economy. Tagged and bad governance in Nigeria, the protest movement won support with an online campaign, but officials had warned against attempts to replicate recent violent demonstrations in Kenya, where protesters forced the government to abandon new taxes.
We are protesting against widespread hunger in the country, widespread inequality, poverty in the country. We're also protesting against issues around insecurity in the country.
What the people want to see is that the government asks them to cut their coat or tighten their belt, and they also want to see the government also tighten its own belt to show that they are in solidarity with them and they are going to work the path together for economic recovery. Until the government shows true concern or shows that it is really concerned and serious about cutting its coat according to its size, just as it has asked the people, I think that we'll continue to have this kind of disillusionment.
In Kano, the country's second largest city, protesters set fire to tires outside the state governor's office and police responded with tear gas, forcing most of the demonstrators back, an AFP correspondent at the scene reported. Around 1,000 people marched peacefully in the mainland area of the economic capital Lagos, where they chanted Tinubu Ole, using the Yoruba language word for thief. Nigeria's protests come after Kenyan President William Ruto was forced to repeal new taxes and name a new cabinet, following weeks of anti-government protests in the West Crisis in his almost 2 years in office. Konjeni Ambinga reporting for Primetime News.
Now a look at progress on the upcoming elections. The Electoral Commission of Namibia, or ECN, says it will not give local journalists special voting options during the presidential and National Assembly elections set for 27 November. Shalva Wells filed this story.
In an interview with NAMPA on Thursday, the Electoral Commission of Namibia's Corporate Communications and Marketing Manager, David Siluka, confirmed that no special arrangements will be made for journalists. According to the Commission, journalists who wish to vote will do so as ordinary voters without any additional provisions or accommodations. He said the Electoral Commission of Namibia has given its assurance that there will be sufficient polling stations available to handle the voting needs for all citizens, including journalists. Siluka said journalists will be able to cast their votes and perform their work on election day without facing undue inconvenience. Sylvia Shondali reporting for Primetime News.
Stay tuned for your top roundup and the business segment thereafter. Welcome to Primetime Biz, your premier source for all things business related. Popular Democratic Movement President McHenry Venani said the significant revenue losses of about 230 million Namibian dollars at Namib Desert Diamonds, or NAMDIA, is deeply troubling and warrants immediate and rigorous scrutiny. Suzette Chitaura filed our lead business story.
In a media statement on Wednesday, Venani called on the chairperson of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Natural Resources, Chekero Tweya, to initiate a comprehensive parliamentary probe and inquiry into the matter. He said an expedited investigation is necessary in order to ascertain the full extent of the losses, identifying any underlying issues, and hold accountable those responsible for this situation. A loss of such magnitude raises substantial concerns about financial management, transparency, and accountability within the organization. Venani said NAMDIA, as a crucial entity in the national diamond sector, is entrusted with safeguarding and enhancing the country's valuable natural resources, and the reported financial shortfall not only undermines the integrity of the corporation, but also poses serious ramifications for the national economy.
A look at the British economy. The Bank of England on Thursday cut its main interest rate for the first time since the COVID pandemic broke out in 2020, as British inflation has retreated in recent months. In a tight 5-4 vote, Bank of England policymakers agreed to reduce borrowing costs by a quarter point to 5.0%, the central bank announced following a regular meeting. Here's an insert of Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey making his statement.
So the modal projection reflects the committee's collective judgment that we are making good progress in returning inflation to the 2% target sustainably. The progress has become clearly visible in measures of both inflation perceptions and inflation expectations. These are important determinants of consumer price inflation, given the role they play in wage and price setting in the economy. We should expect that perceptions of current inflation and expectations of future inflation will play into wage bargaining and price setting. So nothing's changed in that respect. I'm not giving you any view on the path of rates to come. I'm saying we will go from meeting to meeting, as we always do, and it's this judgment about resilience. Because if I can sort of ask myself a very interview question, if you don't mind. I mean, if you said to me, what's changed? The answer is nothing's really changed actually much in terms of the economic news. It's that we have become more confident and over time of this path that we've observed for a while now, this path of the effect that the level of restriction is having and what it's doing. And we've become sufficiently confident now that we think we can reduce that degree of restrictiveness a bit, and we will go on making that judgment.
This brings us to the end of tonight's top segment. We now consult the weather oracle on tomorrow's countrywide conditions, followed by a roundup of the latest economic news and the Sport Planet segment. Welcome to Sport Planet, the segment dedicated to all things sporting action. We commence with Olympics news, where Algerian boxer Imane Khelif's 46-second win at the Paris Olympics on Thursday sparked a furious row about gender eligibility rules, with public figures from around the world weighing in on the controversy. Italian boxer Angela Carini retired hurt and shrugged off attempts by Khelif to shake her hand before collapsing to her knees and sobbing uncontrollably in the middle of the ring. Khelif advanced to the quarterfinals of the women's 66 kg category after unloading 2 strong punches to the face of Carini, who had blood on her shorts and was unable to carry on. International Olympic Committee spokesman Mark Adams said it was a fact that this was the reason, but said that the IBA had made a sudden and arbitrary decision to disqualify the boxers. Take a listen.
We say there, and I think everyone would agree, you don't change the rules during a competition. No one should change the rules during a competition. Everyone needs to have certainty of the rules of competition. On the wider issue, there still is neither scientific or political consensus on this issue. It's not a black and white issue, and we would at the IOC be very interested to hear of such a solution, such a consensus on this, and we would be the first to act on this should a common understanding be reached. But as we say, that has yet to be the case across sport in general. I hope that answers your question. On the injury, what I would say is, of course, we always don't like to see an injury to any athlete, and obviously this injury, like all the others, we hope that she makes a good and full recovery. She's talked about it in the post-bout press conference, and we wish her all the best, obviously.
Staying with Olympics, Novak Djokovic overcame a worrying knee injury scare and a huge second-set deficit to reach his 4th Olympic Games semi-final on Thursday. The Serbian top seed defeated Stefanos Tsitsipas, but only after aggravating the right knee injury that required surgery in June. Djokovic needed on-court treatment after slipping on the baseline of court Philippine Chartier. He fell 0-4 and then 2-5 down in the second set, but battled back to save 3 set points in the 9th game. The 24-time Grand Slam title winner, still looking for a 1st Olympic gold medal, then raced through the tie-break to record his 12th win in 14 meetings against the Greek. He will face Italy's Lorenzo Musetti for a place in the gold medal match. Stay tuned for your sports roundup. This concludes this week's edition of Primetime News. Many thanks for tuning in. A reminder to follow the on-screen prompts and subscribe to the Nampa TV platform to stay updated on developments shaping the global village. On behalf of myself, Salima Shumwefeleni Masipa, and the crew behind the scenes, it's good night.